Good afternoon or evening, depending upon where you are located. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Running a little bit behind again today, but we are making this Facebook Live happen. We are going to be talking about how to put it all together as far as automation is concerned. We've done several other little tidbits and pieces about automation and what pieces exist, what pieces don't exist, what pieces you can maybe put in place for things that you're already doing. But today we're going to put together, kind of put a whole scheme together. So I've got a couple of things pulled up. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes here and see if some other folks show up. Again, my apologies for the delay. And if you have any questions, I'm still kind of figuring out the technology about how to be able to respond to questions during this. So I've got it pulled up on the other screen over here. So if you see me look over there and respond, I will try to do so there. So without further ado, let's chat a little bit about, and I'm going to share my screen here. Let's chat a little bit about putting together a full-scale automation. So I've wrote a few notes down here to kind of help, but one of the biggest things that you need to consider when you're doing this is ways of trackability, meaning when you're putting something together, when you're putting this automation sequence together, what you want to make sure is that you have a way to go back and look at individual pieces of this. You want to be able to track the emails. You want to be able to track the text messages. You want to be able to go back and see about people who have, been included in this process. You want to see, you want to be able to make changes to lists and differentiate people amongst different groups. So hopefully that kind of makes sense what I'm saying. So one of the biggest things that ActiveCampaign does a really good job of doing is they have a thing called it's called a tagging convention. And what you can do is you can go over here and you can go into the contacts list, and I'm not going to let that fully load because I don't want you to see a bunch of people's contact information. Oh, that's going to load anyway. Okay, there it went back. Because I didn't get their approval to put them on blast today. So what I mean by that is you can go in there and you can pick different categories of things you want to make sure that you have access to later. So if you want some help with tagging conventions, I have some various documents I can send you that might help. So in regards to kind of putting this all together. Tagging conventions or how you want to be able to go back and review these results is one thing. The other thing is lists, which is different groupings of people that you want to be able to divide amongst activities. And then the third thing is understand who your audience is. So in any automation that you do, you want to make sure that your audience is your primary concern, because every audience you're going to talk to in a different way. People who are older and retired, you're going to talk to in a completely different way than a group of 20-somethings. You're going to say different things. You're going to use different technology. So make sure that this automation that you're doing is set to your particular audience. And then something that kind of goes along with that is, what is the goal of this automation sequence? Is it to get people to set an appointment? Is it get people to respond to an email? Is it get them to buy something? Is it to get them to not buy something? Is it to get them to do, it could be, we could go all day coming up with reasons why you would have an automation, but you need to make sure you have a goal. And the goal of the automation is to make them do that goal. So it's to make them set an appointment, make them respond to an email, make them attend an event, whatever. That is the purpose that you're doing this for. So in that same vein, as you're thinking through what your goal is, what is the experience you want that person to have? Like your end user, the person that's going to receive this sequence, in order for them to execute that goal or to achieve that goal, that you have set forth for yourself, how are you going to get them to do that? What is it they're going to receive? And then in that stuff that they're going to receive, what's going to make them want to meet your goal? So all of those things are things you should keep in mind with as you're working towards this. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure we point out is that regardless if you're using ActiveCampaign or not, all of your automation softwares or programs are going to have this similar look. They're going to have a system where you can go in and you can drag, pieces in, you can change things, add things, etc. And I realize that looking at this, you don't have a clue what any of this means, and that's okay, but that's not really why we're here. I'm not doing an ActiveCampaign live training or anything. This is just kind of a visual aid. So one of the other things that you're going to start thinking about as you're putting an automation together is what technology do you want to use? Do you want to use emails? Do you want to use text messages? Do you want to use video responses? Do you want to do live phone calls? Do you want to do handwritten like thank you cards or mailers or do you want people like to make outbound phone calls on your behalf? Do you want to make outbound phone calls? Again, that goes back to our conversation about what's your goal? What do you want the end user to do to achieve that goal? So you need to think through all of those things. Do research, talk to other people. I mean, you don't have to like be on an island with this. Just start thinking it through. So this is just a basic little automation I threw together a while back for something completely different, and this isn't like necessarily an example of the best automation or a great automation to do. It's just the one that I'm using as a visual aid. So what I've got here is that when I add somebody to this list, they're going to get this little basic email that I threw together. This is a text message that they're going to get, and then this is a tag. Once they've done those, I wanted them tagged with this particular tag. And then that's the conclusion of the automation. Like that, again, super basic and simple, but it was just to illustrate the point. One of the other things that I've included is, make sure that when you're working through something like this, that you've got all of your technology products that are right there for you to be able to see. So as you work through this kind of system, you're going to think of things, you're going to come to solutions, come to things you want to change, and you want to make sure you have all of that stuff. I'm pointing over here because that's where the screen is. You're going to want to make sure you have all of that stuff right in front of you. So, in this case, I've got my text messaging platform pulled up here, so I would go through and add outgoing text messages. If you want to maybe put an autoresponder or something in, that's, you want to have that available so you can edit on the fly. One of the last things that I want to make sure that I kind of point out is that not every technology works well for everyone. You don't go to Snapchat to talk to 60-year-old retirees. At the same time, you don't go to Facebook to talk to 23-year-old kids. I mean, you just got to know your audience, and you got to know how to communicate with them. So understand that with a younger crowd, that text messaging might be a better way to focus your attention on them, versus with an older crowd, emails might be a better way to get their attention. And same thing with live in phone calls versus recorded phone calls versus thank you notes versus just think through your audience. And if you're not sure, ask somebody. Find somebody in your audience and ask them, hey, do you think this would be a good way to communicate with people? Or if you're trying to talk to your grandparents, call your grandparents and ask them, hey, Grandma, do you open your direct mail when it comes? And that grandma's like, oh no, I throw that in the trash. Okay, well, there's a kind of a data point that you can use, so that maybe direct mail isn't the best choice for my audience. Whatever, just use your brain, do some research. Like, don't just like put together automations and go, well, this is what's going to work and it's going to be successful, and then when it's not, you're angry because you didn't do any research. Like, how are you going to know? Like, if you are like me and you get emails and text messages all day long every day from like gurus and people who want to sell you their quote-unquote service, the reason they're doing that isn't because they just think it's fun. They do it because they have research that shows them that's what will be successful. So keep that in mind as you're working through all of this stuff. So I hope all of that was successful, or not successful. I hope all of that was helpful. if you have questions, if you have a particular campaign that you're trying to put together that you're struggling with, please let me know. I'll be happy to try to help you. If you want to send me screenshots or videos or whatever, let me know, and I'll jump on maybe with a call or something like that, and we'll get it done. I'm going to try to do another one of these on Thursday to try to do a Facebook Live about how to do a video ad for Facebook. Hopefully my Thursday won't fall apart like it did last week, and I'll be able to get it done. So in the meantime, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and talk to you soon.